Is Vince McMahon back in charge of WWE Creative? And what is tonight's important AEW announcement? But first, WWE and ECW legend Stevie Richards would take to social media this week to reveal that he's been dealing with some serious medical issues, although right now it's not entirely clear what these are. Stevie would reveal that he plans to document his recovery on his YouTube channel, with him noting, "The last 4 weeks, especially the last one, have really been something else. We aren't quite at the finish line yet, but hopefully the road to recovery starts ASAP. I will be explaining what has happened and documenting my road to recovery on the YouTube channel as well as here." Hopefully we get to see progress in his recovery over the coming weeks as we await further updates on his situation. In July 2022, Warner Bros. Discovery would form a joint venture with UK broadcaster BT Sport. Interestingly, Warner's TNT and TBS networks are the home of AEW television in the United States, whilst BT Sport is the home of WWE in the United Kingdom. Well, things are starting to become a little more confusing, as it was this week announced that BT Sport is set to be rebranded to TNT Sports, which means WWE will air on TNT in the UK, whilst AEW will air on TNT and TBS in the United States. For now, there is no word on if either of the relationships will be affected by the BT Warner joint venture, although only time will tell. IWGP Women's Champion Mercedes Moné would speak with the Under the Ring YouTube channel ahead of a big win this past weekend at New Japan Pro-Wrestling's Battle in the Valley. Mercedes would reveal her goal for New Japan's young women's division, with this being to make it the place to be, and she would say, "This is such a huge honor for me. It made it a really easy decision to go to New Japan to help kickstart this women's division for this company. With New Japan being the biggest pro wrestling company in Japan, it was just an easy decision to be like, this is the place I want to be. I grew up watching New Japan, I grew up watching Pro Wrestling Noah, and all these Japanese women's wrestling companies growing up, so this was such an easy decision. It's a dream come true for me. I think NJPW Battle in the Valley is just going to create so much magic and so much history for women's wrestling that I just want everyone around the world to be like, this is the company that I want to be in." When asked about the possibility of working with New Japan's sister promotion, Stardom, she would state that she is interested and sees huge potential in the brand, and Moné would add, "Oh my god, I see it as one of the greatest potential companies in the world right now. I just keep seeing it growing and getting bigger. I've been hearing about Stardom for years. Just knowing it's an all-women's promotion with the greatest women's wrestlers all over the world, more so now that you have Mercedes Moné in the game as well. I think just I've been watching it for the past couple of months, really fine-tuning up. Who do I want to face? Who is the best out there? They have some of the top wrestlers I have ever seen. I'm just so excited to introduce the American audience to the style of Stardom women. I think just giving them the opportunity to show what they can do to a global scale audience is just going to open up the doors for women's wrestling all over the world. I think they have the greatest wrestling, so I'm excited to be a part of it and just to expand this broadened audience to something so different that they've never seen before." And before we get to the rest of today's stories, be sure to subscribe to Wrestle Planet if you haven't done so already, as we aim to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And also head over to Wrestle Planet Gaming if you're into wrestling video games, ahead of the launch of both AEW Fight Forever and WWE 2K23. But with that said, let's get to the rest of the video. Now let's get to some news coming out of last night's episode of NXT, where Bron Breakker would make the latest defense of his NXT championship. Breakker would put his title on the line against former WWE champion Jinder Mahal, who was in fact involved in the first ever match for the title back in 2012, losing to Seth Rollins. Jinder's latest attempt at winning the black and gold strap went just as well as the first time, however, after Breakker broke him with a spear in the middle of the ring. Bron has now made 12 defenses in his reign that began back in April 2022, as he edges closer to the 1-year mark. And speaking of NXT, popular star Nikita Lyons has been out of action since January 2023, having suffered from a torn ACL. This resulted in an angle the next week to write her off of television, with her being attacked in the parking lot by a mystery name. While speaking on NXT last night, Nikita would confirm that she will be out for 11 to 12 months, with this being a time frame that she hopes to return in. If true, this is a big blow for the rising talent, who's become a much talked about member of the NXT roster since her debut back in December 2021. WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle would speak on his podcast this week, where he revealed an upcoming procedure to help him with a problem that he's had for a number of years. Angle would reveal that in March, he will undergo surgery to clean out his back, with him avoiding the need for a fusion, and Kurt would say, "On March 21, I'm having it done, the day after my vacation. All they're doing, they're not going to do any fusion or anything like that, thank God. They're going to clean it out. They're going to clean all the arthritis out because I have a nerve going down my leg and it's bothered me and there's pain in my lower back. So they're going to clean all that stuff out, take the bone chips out and the calcium and stuff like that. He said I should be good to go after that. I've had a lot of damage done to my back, but it's not to the point where I need a fusion." Rising AEW star Ricky Starks would take part in an interview with Bleacher Report this week, where he revealed a long-term goal of his outside of wrestling. Starks would discuss his desire to break into the acting business in the coming years, as well as the time frame he hopes to do it in, and Ricky would say, "I definitely want to get into acting and try my hand in the entertainment world. TV shows, movies, that sort of thing. There's a good crossover for me to take advantage of. But beyond that, in wrestling itself, definitely trying to main event as much as possible and become a world champion. And I think that's all doable within 2 years. Anything that I've set out for myself, and with that being the face of a company, is also a great thing to have, because there's a lot of trust that they'll instill in you in that regard." So those are the main ones. I'm not big on putting all my goals out there, just because you gotta leave a little something for yourself. Next, we have an update on Vince McMahon potentially returning to the WWE creative process, something that according to one talent may have already happened. As we've seen over recent months, WWE television has improved a bunch under the leadership of Triple H, who is the new head of creative. It's been insisted in talent meetings that whilst Vince has returned as the chairman of the board, he won't be involved in the booking of the shows, although word is starting to get out that this may have changed. Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp would provide the following update on Twitter with a cheeky plug for his podcast and said, "This week a WWE talent reached out and told me they believed Vince McMahon was in creative. I couldn't get it confirmed at all, but on today's FightfulSelect.com list goes on 4 p.m. Eastern. I'll discuss what they told me." Much like the tweet said, this news is far from confirmed at this stage, although Vince's return could be the reason for the recent decision to book Brock Lesnar versus Omos at WrestleMania. Of course, this is a joke, I think. But yeah, we'll continue to follow this story as it progresses. AEW President Tony Khan is set to make an important announcement tonight on Dynamite, with the wrestling world abuzz with what the news could be. Whilst most previous AEW announcements have been billed as major announcements, the emphasis on the word important adds a different, seemingly more serious tone this time around. No matter the case, Tony would speak with the Phoenix New Times ahead of the show tonight, where he was asked about what the announcement will be and whether it's linked to a possible Forbidden Door 2 show, with Khan responding, "Well, I can't tell you right now, but it's something I'm very excited about and it's great for the company. There are a lot of exciting things in the near future for AEW. All I can say is we have an important announcement coming at this show in Phoenix. It's an exciting development for the company and I'm excited to share it with the fans in Phoenix and all over the world." With Tony calling the news exciting, this appears to confirm that the news is positive, which has calmed concerns that it could be related to some kind of talent exit from the company, perhaps Kenny Omega or CM Punk. With that said, what do you think AEW's announcement will be? Let me know in the comments down below. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 more upcoming wrestling free agents that you need to know.